When I got to like 28 or 29 years old, I was basically almost 220 pounds and probably approaching 30% body fat, to be quite honest with you. And I absolutely woke up every day and I hated how I looked. So some of you guys may know me, may not know me. I have been doing YouTube on and off for a long time, and I've never been very good at it. So that's just kind of the truth. I do quite a bit of content on TikTok now, which is really kind of what's given me the confidence to come back to YouTube and say, all right, I'm going to do this for real. I've always been kind of nervous and shy about filming in front of people, which is weird because I'm 33 years old. So grow up, quit being a bitch, and just kind of resonates more with like who I am. Like, yeah, I get a lot of big bro and a lot of unk comments on TikTok because I am older, but I also want to share this journey with, because there's a lot of guys that come through my lives on here and on that platform that are similar age to me, and they're looking to make big lifestyle improvements or changes. Like they've never been in shape or they're out of shape, or so I just feel like it's kind of, I feel like I can share, where they're at, because like I used to be, and I got really out of shape. I wasted most of my 20s in my opinion, whereas like the David Lades and people like that got in really good shape, over the last 10 years. When I got to like 28 or 29 years old, I was basically almost 220 pounds and probably approaching 30% body fat, to be quite honest with you. And I absolutely woke up every day and I hated how I looked. I used pro hormones and SARMs in my late teens and early 20s, which basically ended up, I don't even want to say that it shut down my testosterone production, because to be quite honest with you, I had not experienced like real, like strong male facial development prior to starting testosterone replacement therapy after I turned 24. Like I didn't have any facial hair. I basically didn't have any body hair. I looked like a teenager well into my early 20s, even after the prohormone and the SARM use. Then I suffered from symptoms of what I would consider to be low testosterone, and gym was something that was important to me while I was younger. And although I went kind of consistently after I moved to Alaska in like 2017, I just had seemed like things were going sideways on me and pretty fast, and I was suffering from a lot of fatigue. I did have managed to have a child between those, but around like, what was it, maybe 22 years old, so relatively young, but I was married and had a kid at 22. So fertility really wasn't something that was on my radar as far as being concerned about. I wasn't having any more. So at 24, I got my lab work done and I did need testosterone replacement therapy. I had extremely low levels of testosterone, um, in the 200 and around 240 nanograms per deciliter, so outside of the bottom of the reference range. And so when I went to decide to go that route, I thought that I would just get in shape from taking, because, and I was out of shape because I had low testosterone. Well, that wasn't really the case. I was actually out of shape because I didn't do any of the other things right. And I was sedentary. The job that I had at the time, I wasn't self employed, and I was at work roughly 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, sitting down. There was basically no walking. I could pace around maybe of like a 10 by 20 foot space, but that was about all I was going to get if I wanted to get any actual movement. Didn't have as much access to the same clean foods that I did before. Not that I made great choices when I was younger, but now they were significantly worse. Regularly at that job, I would eat like a bag of Cheetos and drink a 20-ounce Red Bull daily, which obviously is probably all of your caloric intake that you would need at a sedentary job like that. So I was on my path to what I would consider to be a regular American at that point. And I'm sure that there would have been numerous health issues if I had continued down that path, blood pressure and, cholesterol and all kinds of other things that were not going to be good if I continued down that path. And every once in a while I'd see a picture of myself and I'd be like, man, do I really look like that? I hate how I look. And but I was like, it was cool. I was like in Alaska. I was doing Alaskan things, going fishing and going on flyouts and things like that. And I looked the part, but I absolutely hated how I looked in the mirror. And so I did get on testosterone replacement therapy at 24, but it did not do it for me. Which is part of why I'm going to film this content, is that it's just like testosterone replacement therapy is not going to magically make you in shape. So when I did finally start tracking the calories, and I would not even say that I was good at it, I didn't have a real training program. I was still on testosterone replacement therapy, which I could go into and I'll do a whole video on like what my testosterone therapy protocol actually was. But I did actually start tracking the calories. I was going to the gym now that I was self-employed. So in 2022, And 2023 is really when I kind of started down the actual like weight loss path. My gym was consistent. I didn't have a good plan. I was just doing a bro split, which is probably not the best split that I could have been on if I was trying to build as much muscle tissue as possible. But at that point, I had given up any dreams of being a bodybuilder, and I thought that that had basically gone to the side, and there was no way that I was ever going to be a bodybuilder. I'm late into my 20s. I'm fat. I feel like crap. I look like crap. There's no way I could ever do that. Or when I started that off season in 2024, I had an objective to get as lean as possible. Part of it was that I was actually fucking broke. I had spent all my money on the business and I basically had no money. So all I could afford to do was eat the exact same thing, which was relatively boring every single day for the next, foreseeable future. So I went on a relatively strict diet. I started losing the weight using the calorie reduction and then some additional cardio as I kind of started to get to the lower end of what like is physically possible as far as consuming calories for an adult male. And I did approach and I did actually achieve a relatively lean status. I wouldn't call it shredded because I lacked the muscle mass to look big at that body weight, but I did get down to 165 pounds, which was a long ways from the 220 where I started. It did take me longer than I would say it would take someone who is extremely dedicated and never falls off. But I also, that's easy to say when you're 16 years old and you live with your parents and you don't have anything to do besides go to school and go to the gym, which is the whole purpose of me making these videos, is to be relatable with guys who are like in their mid to late 20s or early 30s or even your 40s or 50s, that it's not too late, right? Like I don't think that it's too late to get lean, or it's not too late to make real lifestyle changes at any age. And that's really kind of the point, right? Like I thought that at my 28, 29 years old, I was past my prime as far as like physical appearance, and there was no way that I would ever be, could even compete in bodybuilding, which had always been a dream of mine. It's something I wanted to achieve for a long time, but I'd basically given up because of all the bad years of poor decision making that I had gone through. So I got to 165 and I got lean. So I hired a bodybuilding coach. I obviously had been taking testosterone, so I was not opposed to performance enhancing drugs. While I know that there's people out there who are natural, I'm perfectly okay with that. That doesn't bother me any way, shape, or form. Although inevitably somebody almost always in the comments has a problem with me not being natural for whatever reason. I have no idea why it bothers them so much. That I'm not, considering most professional bodybuilders are not natural. Yes, I know there's natural bodybuilding leagues, but I made decisions a long time ago that have led me down this road where I'm not ever going to be able to be natural again. And don't tell me that I can raise my levels naturally. I have tried. So moving on from that, so I hired a coach to help me, bring me to a competitive level so that I can compete. There is a good chance that I would be eligible for the Masters division here because I will be 34 next summer, and I think 35 is the cutoff. All of your support is awesome. Hopefully, I can inspire you to make changes in your diet or lifestyle, and prove that there is hope at 30 and it's not over. If you wasted your 20s like I did, and there's still a chance for you to go out and become something different, go do something good and make those good healthy lifestyle choices that I know people wish they would have made earlier, but it's not too late to start making them now.